Cloud. Thank you. Oh, it's so nice to see new faces. Okay. All right, so you are in BESC 201, section 700, which is an online asynchronous course. I have taught this many semesters. I first started teaching it in, that would have been the fall of 2015. So we're almost at 10 years. So it's made a lot of iterations and a lot of improvements since then. And we'll talk a little bit about what that looks like. But I do have some slides for you that we will go over as soon as I can share them with you. All right, so we're going to share screen. Sure. All right, so are we seeing a screen that says howdy? It does also say spring of 20. That's incorrect, but I have fixed everything else of it. So let's say, there we go. Howdy, we see in the screen, it says fall 2024 that I've just fixed. Okay, excellent. All right, so howdy, welcome. So what we're going to do today is have a brief introduction to who I am and why I'm qualified to teach the course. We'll talk about the course concept. We'll talk about the syllabus. I'll point out some things that I think are really important, especially for my online students to know that might not be readily apparent, just some tips and tricks that I've noticed and I've gathered through the years. And I can open it up for questions at the end, but if you have a question as we go along, feel free to ask as well. And I am probably not going to be able to monitor that. I'm not going to monitor the chat very closely, but I will keep an eye on it. So, okay. All right. So my name is Dr. Stoddard. I'm an instructional associate professor. I'm also associate director for the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning at the Center for Teaching Excellence. So SOTL is how you would say a Scholarship of Teaching and Learning. Essentially, that means that I help and direct faculty to do research on their courses to make sure that they're teaching what they think they're teaching and their students are learning effectively. All meant to help students get the most out of their learning experience and faculty to be the most effective instructors. So I have two roles, which makes me very busy, and I have two different offices, which makes it difficult to find me if you need to find me in person. So but that said, if you want to come to my office, it is best to make an appointment and arrange that, because I have a very fluid schedule between my two offices. I do have my email address here. You can also reach me at kstoddard@tamu.edu, but my preference for you all is to email me through Canvas, and I will give you my reason for that. I have like 1,200 emails at the moment. So I've got 1,800 students, and I'm leading two different faculty professional development programs. And so I get a lot of emails, and I don't want your email to slip through the cracks. So if you email me through Canvas, Canvas houses that email, and I can find it easily by just looking to my Canvas email. So if you want an answer, it's best to email me through Canvas. If you're wanting something that's other than Canvas, you could initiate the conversation in Canvas, and we can move it outside if we need to. But really, Canvas is the best way to get a hold of me. If you need to, I have really office hours by appointment, again, because it's really hard to, like, I've realized, like, I could set office hours, but students very rarely came to them, and they really just wanted to make appointments. So let's just all make appointments when we need to see each other and talk to each other. So, so a little bit about me and why I'm eligible and qualified to teach this course. So I got my undergraduate degree at Texas A&M back in 2005, way back when. And I will tell you that I got my degree in the program that this class is in. And so I earned my undergraduate degree in bioenvironmental sciences, and I actually took this class as a freshman. So it's a nice, really nice closed circle kind of loop thing where I took this class as a freshman and now I get to teach it, which is a really fun privilege. It's one of my favorite things that I do at A&M. I also got my master's here in water management and hydrologic science. That was its inaugural program, and that program's still going strong. Then I went to work for KBA Enviroscience. They've been acquired by a groundwater monitoring group now, but I spent about 18 months to 2 years working in the industry. And then decided I wanted to go back and get my PhD. And I got my PhD in environmental science from the University of North Texas in Denton, Texas. I really enjoyed my time there. From there, my first appointment was out in Texarkana, which is way, way out East Texas. You just basically drive until you get to Arkansas and then you do a U-turn. It's really out far east. It's beautiful out there. It was a small school. It's about 1,200 students when everyone came to school. So I was there for 2 years, and then I was recruited by colleagues that I had developed relationships with as an undergraduate and a graduate student. I was recruited to come back here. And I will say that like the Aggie network is a real thing. It's really, I mean, I was qualified for the job, but it was one of the reasons I got this was because of the networks that I made and the professional connections that I made as an undergraduate and a graduate student while I was here. So all that to say that Aggie ring and your Aggie network is a true thing. Like it really does work. All right, so I do not want to talk to you all the time, and I recognize that this is Zoom. So what we're going to do is I'm going to break you out into rooms, and I'm going to have you introduce yourselves just so that we can get things mixed up a little, and you don't have to listen to me straight for like an hour. That would be boring. So what we're going to do is I'm going to split you out into random groups, and I want you to talk with the people in your group and exchange the following information. My name is, and I enjoy these hobbies, and then you repeat it back so that you can try to remember. So now I need to find the breakout room thing.
Excuse
Okay.
me, Dr. Stoddard. We're going
Yes.
through the slides the whole time.
Well, what?
We're going through the slides the whole time.
I have a section at the end that I might not need slides. Why do you ask?
Oh, okay. No, it's because you're like, if you were doing the slides for me, I don't know if for others is the same, but like it's not moving. It's just
Oh,
like, yeah, like the howdy
for
part.
telling me.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I wasn't really paying like much attention to. I was paying
Thank you
attention
for
to your.
telling me. Let's try something else. Um, is that better? Do you
It's kind of
see
it's like
what you're supposed to do in the breakout room now?
it's kind of frozen. It's I just see like your
Okay.
presentation.
Thank you so much for telling me. Let's try this again. Um, I'm so glad that you told me. All right, let me find the screen share. Zoom. Find the Zoom. Let's try this again. All right, what do you see now?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, you see instructions for what to do in a Zoom room?
Yes.
Breakout room. Thank you so much for telling me.
Um,
I'm glad that we didn't go on too much longer. Yes, always interrupt and let someone know if something's not working the way they think it is. All right, so we're going to break you out into rooms. All right. Here we go. All right, so you all are going to share your names and the hobbies that you enjoy. Okay, ready, go. I'll bring you back in about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. And Elise, if you're there, I put you in a breakout room. Oh, Michaela, I see that you moved out because there's no one else in your room. I do apologize about that. I'll move you to 6. There's only 2 people there. Sorry about that. So we're going to continue on. All right, so I like to share with my students that there is a reason and a reason for everything in my course. So back in 2019, I was admitted into a year-long professional development program to earn a certificate in effective college instruction. And it's in fact the only that type of certificate available to college instructors, college faculty. And so I signed up in 2019, and then we all know what happened in 2020. And so it was a really intense time at the moment because we're all in the pandemic. I signed up for this thing, and it was a year-long program. And so I spent a year doing about 10 hours of extra work outside of my paid work to learn how to be a more effective instructor, especially in an online environment. And so I tell you all this to know that there's a lot of thought and effort that went into this course, and it's designed to be an effective learning environment. And it's based off of evidence-based practices and what research has shown works for students learning, as well as I do research on my courses to try to improve the student learning experience. So I tell you all this to know that it's not something that was thrown together at the last minute. Like, a lot of effort has been put into making this the best experience it can be. And with that said, I always try to improve it from one semester to the next. So the next thing that you need to know is that this course is a core curriculum course. I have to tell you that because there are things in it that we absolutely have to do by state mandate. So we have to have critical thinking, we have to have communication, we have to have empirical and quantitative skills, and we have to have teamwork. And teamwork is usually the kicker for most of my online classes, because this is an online class. Why do I have to have teamwork? You have to have teamwork because it's a core curriculum class. Now, if you're feeling daunted by teamwork in a 15-week course, let me give you a little bit perspective. I teach this course as a summer offering for 5 weeks, and they do a team project there. And it is a very quick endeavor, and it's difficult to do. So you have about 12 weeks to work on your team projects as opposed to 5. So I count that as a win. So you get a little bit more time to work on it. And I do give you a lot of scaffolding to help you along the way, which we'll talk about later. These are the textbook options. So the one on the right is the 7th edition. You could also get the 6th if you would like. You can rent it, you can buy it. It's on reserve at the library. If you go to the library, then you can only rent it out for 4 hours, and you have to stay in the building and can't leave the building. But these are the textbooks. We will use it. You will need it. I do post the first 5 chapters in Canvas, but you'll get out of that by the end of week 3. You will be done. Like, I can't provide any more than that. So we have methods of evaluation. So we have reading and mini lecture quizzes. So these are going to be over mini lectures that you watched that I've posted and I've previously created, all of which have captions and have been assessed and modified for accessibility. You have an opportunity to introduce yourself, which many of you have already found. You're going to have 3 engagement, I call them assignments. One of them is an app. 2 of them are kind of like essays. These will be done through Perceptive. We have 2 perusal engagement assignments, a climate change infographic that you'll create in week 8, maybe week 10. Throughout the course of the project, you'll be working on an ecological footprint, and that we'll talk a little bit about what that looks like. And then we'll do reflections and a final team project. A couple of things I want to point out here. You'll notice that there are no exams in this class, which some of you may like and some of you may not like, because the trade-off is that you really have to show me that you're learning. And I do that through what's called authentic assessment or coursework-based assessment. And so every week I'm asking you to apply what you're learning and create something or do something. And so you have a lot of control over what your grade ends up being, because essentially you do the work, you get the grade. And you follow the rubrics that I provide you, but also know that you can't really slack off and just not do anything for 3 weeks, because then you won't get those points. There's something to turn in every week. And so you need to be really proactive in this course. And I would recommend checking in multiple times. The other thing about there being multiple things to do, though, is that no one thing will tank your grade. So aside from the team project, if you totally decide not to do the team project, you'll be stuck at a C. But just know that there's a lot of flexibility. There's flexibility. So if you have a bad week, then it's going to be okay. All the grades will be posted on Canvas, and that non-team related thing, that is, I need to fix that. It's not really very clear there. So let's talk about the things. So the reading quizzes, so there will be mini lectures to watch. They'll be under the reading and resources page on each module. And you have reading quizzes to do. Each quiz has 10 points. They open at 9 a.m. on Mondays and they close the following Monday at 2 p.m. The answers are available the following Thursday, like Thursday after they close. These are, I think you have an hour to do them, and you get to do them as many times as you want within the window of submission. So it usually works out pretty well. I really think students learn through repetition and the opportunity to learn from their mistakes. And so you can take them as many times as you want to get the grade that you want. So by all means, but they are not intended to be a collaborative thing. And you also must earn 100% on the syllabus quiz and a 90% on the academic honesty quiz before you'll be able to access the next week's modules, which will have reading quizzes in them. Okay, so we're going to meet a new friend. We're going to do that whole process again. I'm going to pause my recording so that people don't have to listen to that. Okay. Are we still seeing the slides? Still going smooth? Awesome. Thank you for tell me how you say your name.
It's not deny.
Not deny. Thank you so much.
Of course, that's you.
Yeah, you're helping me know my Zoom's working right. I appreciate it. Okay. So one of the methods of engagement I'm going to use is we're going to use Peerceptive, and we're going to use it for several assignments, but we're going to use it for what I'm calling the engagement assignments or engagement essays, and they're designed to encourage you to have some independent research, but also to be creative and improve in various forms of communication. So you will complete 2 different steps in any Peerceptive assignment. So the first step is to submit something. And I give you instructions on what you submit. I tell you exactly what it is. In most cases, I provide you a template or guidance of what should be written and how. And then the second part of any Peerceptive assignment is that you're going to provide a peer review for at least 3 of your peers in the course. And those peer reviews are going to be double blind, meaning you're not going to know who you're reviewing, and the people that you're reviewing are not going to know who you are. So just FYI, when you go into a Peerceptive assignment, you might see a color with a dash and then multiple letters or multiple numbers. That is more than likely your pseudonym. So you could be Fuchsia 2485. So whatever it is, don't get alarmed by that. It's just that there is a pseudonym for everybody. And in fact, when I grade, I don't know who anyone is. So everything is graded blind, which I really appreciate. I do need to tell you that anytime you access Peerceptive assignments, you need to click on the assignment that you're wanting to work on through Canvas. Don't try to go to peerceptive.com. That won't work out well. Your grades won't pass back to Canvas. Don't try, like let's say you're doing engagement essay number 2. Don't click on engagement essay number 1 to try to get to Peerceptive and then get to engagement essay number 2, because then your grade won't pass back. So it just makes complications. Always use the link that you want to work on. Okay. We're also going to be using a program called Perusal, and I will say that all of these things are free. I'm not asking you to spend any money. I've specifically and intentionally selected programs that the university pays for all students to use. And so there's no cost to you here. The only thing that you need to worry about is your textbook and any other kind of supplies that you need to support yourself. In Perusal, this looks a little bit different. What happens here is I post things for you all to read and discuss together as a group. And so you will be looking at documents and making comments, and those comments will be seen by your peers, and you can have conversations with each other about the comments that you post. So for example, if I were to do a perusal on just this slide, I might highlight access perusal assignments through Canvas for each individual assignment. I can make a comment like, this seems like it's really important. I'm going to make a note to remember this. And then other people would see that note. And so you'll highlight the element of the document within perusal that you want to make a comment on, and then you make your comment. We're going to do 2 of these. So the first one is just an introduction assignment. It's low stakes. It's not meant to be a big points, but really just is meant to help you understand what this platform does and how to work within it. And you'll need to work your way through there'll be multiple documents that kind of go through like a page. You just press next, you make your comments, you press next. And it will guide you through. That introduction assignment is intended to teach you how to use the program. And then the second assignment that you'll do is what I call the Seattle case study assignment. You're all in my online class, and it's very difficult for me to make case studies for you all because I don't get to see you. If you were in my face-to-face class, every Friday we do case studies. And there's a lot of ways that you can interact with the material in that way. But this was the best way that I could figure out to have you all do a case study. And so this is my first case study to build through Perusal, and you all get to try it out. I did it over the summer. It worked relatively well, but you get to explore the concepts that we're talking about with a real world scenario. So we'll talk about keystone species and their impact on the environment, and you'll get to do that through, like, have experience with that through this Perusal assignment. Okay, so the ecological footprint mini project. So this you do on your own. But this is designed to link back to the empirical and quantitative skills, as well as your communication and your critical skills, but also just give you an opportunity to think about yourself and your impact on the environment. This is no judgment here, but it is just a way that we're going to gather data. So the first step is going to come up next week, and you're going to calculate your ecological footprint. I'll send you a link. I'll give you a link in the assignment. You go calculate your footprint. And then what you're going to do is you're going to make a plan to track data over the course of the semester that you can then graph at the end of the semester and say, you can interpret that graph and that data. So for example, if I took if I did my ecological footprint, which you will see mine, and at the end, I could see that, transportation was really high on mine. So then I might make a plan to walk more or bike more or carpool more. And then my plan could be, all right, I'm going to log the amount of miles that I carpool versus the amount of miles that I drive individually. So the thing when you're deciding what to pick for the data that you want to track, the metric you want to track, it needs to be the same from data point to data point. So for example, minutes in shower, like the minutes you shower is a really a very common one. The number of meatless meals that you eat is a common one. The miles that you drive is a common one, but it needs to be comparable. For example, one thing that would not be comparable would be like telling me how many garbage bags you put out each week. It's not comparable because one bag could be half full, another bag could be full. So you need to be able to do something that like each data point could be compared to the other with relative certainty that you're looking at about the same thing. So there's going to be 2 updates as we go along, where you just send me an update of you're going to track your data and you're going to send me your data. And really this is like, did you do it? Did you not do it? And are you on track? And if you're not on track, I just give you recommendations for getting on track, but you do need to collect data because at the end of the semester, you're going to recalculate your footprint and you're going to compare your 2 outputs, the one from week 2 to the one at week 13 or 14, I can't remember which week. And then you're going to create a graph of all that data that you collected, and you're going to interpret your results. And then you're going to analyze your results, and you're going to reflect on the process. So this is all laid out in eCampus or Canvas. I just wanted to let you know what's coming. In the week that we talk about climate change, you'll have the opportunity to create an infographic. I give you a lot of instructions about what needs to happen in that infographic, but it's laid out there. Some of the big things are you shouldn't include someone else's infographic in your infographic. That's not a good thing to do. And you shouldn't, there's at the bottom, you'll be asked to write a position statement. So make sure you pay attention to the instructions so that you don't miss something. For example, what's going on really well with this one is that they cited their source here, like fossil fuels is the #1 contributor to all global warming emissions, and they've cited that Union of Concerned Scientists. But what is not cited is about 95% of this travel is fueled by petroleum-based fuels, such as diesel and gasoline. That's a statistic. It should have been cited. So there should have been an in-text citation after that. But they did cite their graphic, which is really good. That was a good thing that they did. So that's the one thing that's missing on that one. All right, so you're also going to have a chance to look at what your worldview is. So your worldview is your perspective. It's how you see the world. And your worldview is different for all sorts of different things, and everyone has a different worldview. But the point of this is to help you have an opportunity to think about your own thinking, which is a type of critical thinking, and it's also called metacognition. So when you think about your thinking, like I'm thinking about why do I think the way that I think, that is a deep form of critical thinking, and it's a useful way to learn about yourself and to grow, and also just to show that you're becoming a more critical thinker. So you're going to have 3 opportunities to talk about what you answer and think about what your worldview is and communicate it to me, and then share that with your peers and get feedback on it. And what you're doing is you're getting feedback not on what your worldview is, but you're getting feedback on how you articulate your worldview using course concepts. So I want to make something very clear here. When you write this, one, you're going to be given a template, and that template has the first part is going to give you a prompt. I'll give you some background of the topic that I'm giving you. The second part is going to be an explanation of what your worldview is. And then the second part that you write is how did you form your worldview? So for example, in each template you have 2 to 3, or maybe 3 to 4 prompts to pick from. You only pick one. Just pick one, the one that resonates with you the most, and the one that you're willing to talk about, and the one that you're willing to write something down and have someone else read. So that's why there's multiple options. But you would pick your one, and then you need to explain what your worldview is using course terms in context and defining them. So for example, if in one of the worldview templates, I ask you about government's role in population control. And so as you may or may not know, at one point China had a one-child policy, and it was intended to control the population growth in that country. They've now moved away from that, but it did have some serious ramifications. They did control their population, but there's a lot of things that came with it. So I will ask you a question along the lines of, what do you think? What role do you think a government should play in controlling its population? There'll be multiple questions to answer, but I need you to understand something very clearly. I am not grading you on what your worldview is. You could think that you could decide whatever it is. I want you to be honest. But what I am grading on you is how you can incorporate course terms and define them. If you can't do that, if you don't do that, if you miss defining terms or even including terms, then you will score lower. But you're not getting graded on what you believe. You're getting graded on how you can describe what you believe using course terms. So let's just make sure that's very clear. There's no right or wrong worldview, and we're not going to shame anyone or be mad at anyone or get offended by someone's worldview. It's just how you see the world. The second part of that assignment is going to be reflecting. So in that essay, you're going to reflect on how you formed your worldviews. And that reflection, so in that reflection, you're going to tell me how you got there. What life experiences did you have that helped you form this worldview? And so I will tell you that it's pretty common that students try to restate their worldview. So they'll say, I believe yada yada yada. I believe is in the first paragraph. You can tell me how you formed your worldview by telling me about life experiences that you've had. Like, did you travel internationally and see a different part of the world and it changed your perspective on something or influenced your perspective? Was there a book that you read that really resonated with you and helped open your eyes to something? Was there a teacher that highly impacted you? What did they teach you? How did that impact you? You need to explain in detail what that experience was and how it shaped your life or how it shaped your worldview. Right now, I'm looking, see if I can find my templates. Here we go. I'm going to change the screen that I'm sharing, and I'm going to move over to the templates. Give me 1 second. Let's change the screen. Oh, here we go. So we're going to change it. So here we go. This is from summer, so the prompts will be a little bit different because I had to consolidate prompts. But for example, there's only 5 weeks, so a lot of prompts are put in one. Students will select one of many. Do not put your name on this. Don't put your name on it or in it. I will know who you are. So here's an example of government regulation of population control. I give you some background. I tell you about the concept. I even give you pages to reference from the textbook. And then I tell you describe your worldview or perspective, integrate and define 3 course terms to explain your worldview. The course terms are in the glossary of the textbook. They are bolded. Make sure you check that. Because if you include something and you highlight it and you start defining it and it's not a course term, you won't get those points. And that will make you sad. And it's really one of the easiest ways to get points. All right, so the second stage is reflect on how you formed your worldview. You're going to say how you got there. Provide specific details. So for example, this is how I was raised, this is what my religion teaches me, and this is what a class taught me, are good starts, but not enough. So if you just say, this is what my religion teaches me that government shouldn't control their population size, and then you go on to tell me about what you believe about population size, you will have essentially just repeated your worldview. Please don't do that. You need to talk about the experience. You need to talk about that teaching. You need to talk about what it was that shaped your worldview. And you only have to do it for one. So if you don't like one prompt, just move on to the next. Any questions about that? Okay, let me check and see. Let me check I don't see anything in my chat. So we're going to go back to the other one. So these will be assessed through Perceptive. Are we seeing the screen that has the eye with a globe in it? Okay, great. So you will do this 3 times. So presumably you learn from your mistakes and move on, and they progressively get to be worth more points. And there's a guide in Canvas. Use the template. It will save you. It's the best way to earn points. All right, there is a team project. I value the process of a team project. The point of a team project is not necessarily to produce something, but it's to learn how to work in a team, to build those skills like communication, working with difficult people, allocating work, coming up with ideas, all those kinds of things, collaborating. Those are things that are important to learn. And so I've scaffolded the project for you. So you'll notice that there are individual points you earn. So these are things that you do as an individual to contribute to the project and to develop those skills. There's 150 points associated with that. There's only 100 points associated with the thing your team will turn in. So just keep that in mind. So only 40% of your grade comes from what your team turns in. I do want to point out that there's an overall project participation grade, so that's 20 points here. And this is going to be calculated by your teammate evaluations, which is done in the 3rd line, the teammate evaluations. So you will anonymously to your teammates evaluate how they did. You should be honest because it's really important. If they didn't show up and they didn't contribute, then just be honest, because I'm the only one that will see this. I'm the only one that can see how someone rated someone else. And it helps me to make sure that I know that the points are allocated fairly. So let's say that you really show up in your team and you do really well and you communicate with them often and you get 20 points. And so that would mean that if your team got 100 on the final deliverable, you would get 100. But let's say that you fell off the face of the planet for like 5 weeks and you didn't talk to your teammates, or you told them, hey, just tell me what to do, and you never came to a meeting, or you didn't engage and you just waited for other people to assign stuff work for you, then you might not get a very good high score. So let's say you get 60% of the overall participation points. That means you will get 60% of the group points. So this structure is designed to prevent people from riding on the tailcoats of their teammates and to actually earn the points that are associated with them. So I will say that I practice a lot of discretion so that I make sure that those points are fairly allocated. And if you're getting 60%, 50% of these points, it's because I've been tracking all of that and I'm aware of what's going on, because there's also a team progress survey 1 and a team progress survey 2. And more than likely, if someone's not showing up, I'm more than likely hearing about it in survey 1 and survey 2. So just keep that in mind. I do also have a low stress GPA policy. I have this because I have a colleague that was working full-time, 40 hours, who are taking like 16 hours or 20 hours of classes. I have no idea how he did it, but his goal really was just to graduate at that time. And he now is a professor at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. He's an incredibly prolific scholar. But at one point in his life, he just had to get through undergrad. And some of you have a lot going on. I would rather that you admit it to yourself that you don't have the capacity to do the team project and just not sign up for it. So just opt out. Let's save all of ourselves the headache that will incur when you can't show up for your team, and just accept that you're just going to get a C in the course. So there's no shame, there's no judgment. It's just an option there for those students that might want it or need it. So I feel like it's better to admit the truth in the beginning rather than trying to chase problems down later. So, all right, to sum all this up, we have reading quizzes that will work on our concept mastery. And those reading quizzes will be over chapter content that are posted in Canvas. We have weekly activities that will help you with your content mastery and your critical thinking. These are your reading chapters, your mini lectures, and the assignments. And most everything is due on a Monday at 2 p.m. So my weeks run from Monday to Monday. And the reason for that is I stopped doing things on Sunday, stopped having things turn in on Sunday, because I'm not answering emails on Sundays, especially not Sundays at 11:59. Because if a student can't do something on Sunday at 11:59, they're usually emailing me at 11:50, and I'm not awake or available or wanting to engage at that point with anyone other than my pillow. So everything is due on Mondays at 2 p.m. so that if you have a problem, I'm more likely to be able to help you. All right, so this also breaks down how we're doing everything, how we're meeting our core curriculum objectives, our critical thinking and our communication comes from our worldview essays, our engagement assignments, and the ecological footprint. Our empirical and quantitative skills are going to come from the ecological footprint assignment and the sea otter perusal assignment. You're going to look at some real world data and have some interpretation of it. The team project is also obviously teamwork, and our course mastery is coming through reading quizzes, engagement essays, and other Canvas assignments. The Canvas assignments are just the engagement essays. Okay, it is time to meet your next friend. So this time you are going to share one interesting fact about yourself. Okay, so let me find my breakout room tags. Okay, so we're going to recreate our rooms. We need to make sure we have enough people in every room. Okay. Okay, all right. Make sure to introduce yourself and share one interesting fact about yourself. Ready, go. Okay. So this course is intended to be inclusive learning. I want everyone to know that I'm really glad that you're all here. Every voice has something of value to contribute. Please take care to be respectful of different experiences and beliefs and values that are expressed. You will see those things when you are peer reviewing for worldview essays, especially. We're not attacking anyone's worldview. We're not judging anyone for their worldview. We're just here to learn and get a better understanding of how other people see the world and learn and grow together. So I support every A&M's commitment to diversity and welcome individuals of all backgrounds and all the things. So I just want to have that statement. It's a lot to read, but it's just everything. It's just put it out there as everything. Let's say how you can help me help you is let me know if you have a preferred name and or pronoun. Especially if it doesn't show up in Canvas or doesn't show up on the gradebook. I'd really like to know, like if you email me and you have a preferred name that isn't the name that comes through, just let me know and I'll make sure to address you that way. Here's one that is also something that you might need action on. If you feel like your academic performance in my course is being adversely affected by an experience outside of class, please don't hesitate to talk with me. I can generally help you. If it's something about like assignments, then we might be able to work out something. If it's something about you needing resources, I've been here for a long time and I went here for 2 different degrees. So I know about the resources and I'm highly connected on campus. So I know where to send students when they need help. I will tell you this though, do not wait until week 13 to tell me you had a problem in week 4. Don't fall off the map for 5 weeks or 3 weeks and then ask for help then. I need to know so that I can help you when it's happening. but I can do very, very little when it's week 13, 14, or 15. There's not a whole lot of recovery room there. So if there's something going on, there's no judgment, and I just want to help you succeed, but you got to come talk to me. I am an Aggie ally, but I'm not perfect. I'm still learning about diverse perspectives and identities. And so if something's said by me or someone else, can you just help me learn or help others learn? So help me know what the best thing to say is, and we'll learn and move forward. I'm also trying to incorporate scholars from diverse backgrounds. And so if there's a scholar or an artist or a scientist or an expert that represents a diverse view or represents a diversity class that you value and you'd like to see if I can incorporate it in the course, please let me know, because it's I can do a lot, but I don't know everyone and I don't know everything. And if you have other ideas of how we can make our class more diverse, more inclusive, and foster a more inclusive learning environment, please let me know. All right, and Aggie does not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate those who do. And I was an Aggie, and I also know about elaborate, collaborate, and borrow. So the Aggie Code of Honor is a real thing, and you are held to it whether you know it or not. So that is why you are required to take the academic honesty quiz in my class. I will tell you that it is designed to be difficult. Do not be hard on yourself if you don't get it the first time. I intentionally designed it to be challenging because it came out of a situation where I had a graduating senior that committed 2 different types of academic dishonesty and genuinely didn't know what they were doing was wrong. And I don't want that to fall into your lap because the consequences will be severe. I am required to report all cases of academic dishonesty, and that's actually a benefit to you because at the end of the day, you want your degree, you want your Aggie ring, you want your diploma to mean something. And if people get there by cheating and plagiarizing and doing things the wrong way, then your degrees and your rings mean less. So just know that I'm not out to get you. I'm out to protect the validity and value of your degree and your diploma and all of those things, and I will report it. And I'm required to. That is a requirement of all faculty members. So just know that the Aggie Code of Honor or the Aggie Honor Quiz, the academic honor quiz, is intended to help you know the code that you're held to, because you're held to it whether you know it or not. And so I want you to know it inside and out, and that's why it's designed the way that it is. All that said, we all are aware that ChatGPT and generative AI has become a real big thing in the last year. So I need to tell you that in terms of this course, I do not want you using ChatGPT, Copy AI, Claude, any of those AI things to create something to turn in for credit for yourself. There are ways to use AI to learn from it, but I don't want you using it to generate something that you're going to turn in for a grade in this course. If you're using Grammarly to help you with like spelling and different things like that, I'm fine with Grammarly, but we're not going to use AI and large language models to generate text to turn in. So just so you know, and if it helps you to know that I'm also at this part of my job at the Center of Teaching Excellence is I work with people that study this and know it and are on the inside track of all of it. And so I'm relatively well versed in it, and I've hired people that have built AI models, and so they've talked with me about how they work. And so I'm relatively good at identifying it. So if I do think that I've done something that involves AI, I will confront you about it and we'll have a conversation about it. So just be careful with that stuff, okay? And know the policy for every one of your classes, because the policies can be different. It's just the way that it is. Every professor at this point gets to decide how they feel about it. All right, so if you fall into a category where you need to work with the Office of Disability Resources, please work with them and get your accommodations letter and get them to me. I will tell you that I've designed my course to be universally accessible, which generally means that most people that have an accommodation letter are mostly already accommodated in my course. The reading quizzes don't have times, there's no exams, or there's an hour and you can do it multiple times. But if you have a medically diagnosed disability and you need assistance from me, then make sure you talk to me about it and that we can maximize your learning in my course. All right, communication. It's best to communicate with me via Canvas. Please have a formal line. You should address me as Dr. Stoddard or Professor Stoddard. However, howdy is fine. But Mrs. Stoddard and Miss Stoddard are not. I went to school for a really long time, and I had a lot of debt to get those two little letters in front of my name. And so you should address your professors as Doctor or Professor, just as a measure of respect for the title and the work that went in to get it. It's ideal if you sign your name with you don't need to sign your name if you're emailing me in Canvas because it's already there. But if you want to be addressed by something else, let me know. If you're emailing me outside of Canvas, which I don't recommend, but if you must, include the course and subject, like BES 201-700. Otherwise, it's probably going to get lost. If we start a conversation, please don't let the ball drop. I generally respond within 24 hours or less during the weekdays. But if I've asked you for something, I need you to respond. Also, if I haven't responded to you within 24 hours of a working day, would you please just send me an email and push it to the top of my inbox? Because more than likely it's just gotten lost. I'm not ignoring you. It's not that I don't think your stuff is important. It's just I have a lot that I have to manage, and sometimes emails get lost. And so I'm just telling you the most polite thing to do is just say, hey, Dr. Stoddard, can you please help me with this? All right. I am interested in educating you as a full student. And I know that there's a lot that goes on in your life, and you've got families and jobs and pets and all sorts of stuff. And that takes up a lot of brain space and time and whatnot. So to account for your full life and to educate you as a full student and a full person, I have what's called the no questions asked policy. And so what this is it is intended to give you a free 24-hour extension on just about any assignment without you having to ask for it. Because I don't need you to email me to tell me your cat's sick and that you need to take it to the vet and you're going to miss the due date. Just fill out the NQAP, you put the due date in, and you automatically get 24 hours of a grace period. So just to be clear, you fill out the form, which can be found on the main page of Canvas, and then you get 24 hours from that due date. So if it's due on Monday at 2 p.m., you have until Tuesday at 2 p.m. to fill out the form and submit the assignments. After that, the late penalty will start to apply. You can use this form up to 4 times, and each use counts for a date. So if there's multiple things due on a date, you don't have to fill it out multiple times. You just fill it out for that date, and everything gets an extension with the exception of the final team project. Trying to think of anything else. If you're genuinely sick and you have like an excused absence, I will ask my students to fill this form out and make a note at the bottom that they have an excused absence and email me that form. This is so that all of my extensions are listed in one database and it's easier for me to manage. Because if I have 80 people or 50 people telling me they need an extended due date, it will get lost in my email. So this just streamlines the process and makes sure that your stuff doesn't fall through the cracks. All right, so my rule about absences and missed work. So you might not know the rules of Texas A&M, but per the rule of 7.4, students will work with their instructors to develop a schedule to complete their makeup work. According to this rule, you have 2 days to email your professors, 2 working days to email your professors if you have a sickness or an illness or an excused absence. I give you 3. So you have 3 days to tell me that something's happened and you need an extension. After that, then you're very likely going to risk losing your extension. This whole reason I do this is I don't want you to miss a due date because you're sick and then wait 3 weeks and tell me, hey, I was sick on that date. That's not going to work, and that's not how learning is going to work in my course. You're meant to learn as you go along, and so trying to go backwards and do stuff to just earn the points is not how I set my course up. So please contact me within 3 days if you have an excused absence and you genuinely need an extension on an assignment. And I'll work with you, but don't wait weeks. Okay, so please contact me if something's impacting your life outside of school. Please take care of yourself. Please check in on your friends. Earlier the better, but please don't ask me for extensions on week 13. Right. Questions. Do we have questions in the room?
Yes. So Dr. Stoddard.
Yes.
So I have a question. So I I won't say anything too much because I know some people haven't taken it. But for the syllabus quiz, there was one of these question. It was about uh the quizzes, and it was just something can you check it because there was something about the quizzes and the points. And
Yes, I will check it. Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
let me double
will
check that.
email you, but yeah, I noticed that you have a meeting, so I was just gonna tell you here, but I won't
Okay.
say much, but yeah, can you
Okay,
check?
I will check the syllabus quiz and make sure that's fixed. And if there
Thank
is
you
an
for
error,
saying
I will make it so it doesn't impact you.
Yes. All right, that's all I have.
Taylor, is the same thing?
Thank you for saying something because that question got me.
Okay, I will check that and fix it today. And double check and make sure that that's working well. Okay. I'm gonna stop the share there. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. A couple things about Canvas. I highly recommend that you adjust your settings. So if you go up to I'm gonna share my screen so you can see this. So if you go up here to your account settings, you can adjust your settings and your notification settings so that your announcements get emailed to you. I highly recommend you do that because every Friday, it's usually Friday or Saturday, but Friday or Saturday, I will send you an email to remind you what's coming. And I do want to show you how I set things up so you can like see what to expect. But the pattern stays the same and it works relatively well. So here we have this week. You want to look at the overview and to-do list. And in that overview and to-do list, you'll see that I give you a to-do list and the things that you should accomplish. At the end of the week, I will copy and paste this and send it into an announcement with the hyperlink so that you know what you need to be doing. So there's really no reason to not know that this is time always due. I also make sure that everything is on calendar so that should be cleared up. So please go through the to-do list. It's also helpful to make sure that you know about the course schedule. It is busy, I will tell you that, but it just has everything on it. So blow it up until you can look at individual weeks. Here's the no questions asked policy. Here's my office hours. They're set up by appointment. And so you just make an appointment and it sends a calendar link to you and me and gives you a link for how to make an appointment. Learning modules, team project overview, course discussion board. Let's see. Yeah, and so when we move into next week, which isn't invisible to you, but we'll go through the same things. There'll be an overview and to-do list. There's readings and resources, which is where you'll find the mini lectures. There'll be team project tasks to work on. There'll be weekly activities to show that you're learning and you're demonstrating your learning to me. And then there's going to be a weekly overview. So I will say that I can also, if there's interest in the course, I can provide another meeting before later in the semester to talk about the team project specifically. If students have questions about that, we can also have another session if students want to talk about peerceptive, because those are two somewhat pinch points in the course that students sometimes have questions about. So, someone's asked, how will groups be made for the project? It has not been answered. So you all are going to propose ideas. It's going to end up going into a Google spreadsheet and you're going to fill it out. You're going to fill out this Google spreadsheet. And then from that spreadsheet, I'm going to figure out what the big themes are and I'm going to make teams based off of those themes. And so like team 1, like fast fashion, team 2, deforestation in the Amazon. And then once I will hide them while I'm building them, but once they're available, I will open them up and I will tell students they are now open, go pick. And so you'll just go pick the one that you want. So unfortunately, it is a little bit of a free for all, but there's really no good way to do this for an online course that never meets in person. Okay, there's another question. I researched the requirements for assessing the rest of the course, but I'm wondering if the week's content uploads as time goes on rather than all at once. If we will have access to chapter 1 and 2 on Monday, should we be seeing that right now? No, you shouldn't. So I make each week will become available sometimes by Friday, but usually by Sunday. So it all depends on how much work I've got going on that week, but it will be ready before Monday at 8 a.m. I try to have it available sometime between Friday and Sunday. But you shouldn't see it now. Like, I don't want everything up at the same time. There's just, honestly, that would be a lot to digest. And I think students would get overwhelmed very, very quickly if you saw everything. You're meant to eat the elephant one bite at a time. Okay, let's see. Is there a limit for how many people can be in one team? Yes, the limit is 5. If ends up being a team that has like 2, then I will make some arrangements to try to see what we can do about that. A team of, and we're not going to have a team of 1 because that obviously isn't a team. It's just a solo project. So, let's see. I think that's all the questions that are in the chat, unless there's more questions that people have in the room. Okay. All right. Well, I will stop the recording there.